What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. I am one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess.
Also known as Staying Alive. Hello, everybody.
We're back for episode 69 of the Game Cast. Shout out to everybody who's there since day one. You're the real MVP. You are the real MVP. Especially with
Mm-hmm.
the first episodes, because we're a bit rusty, but we've gotten better. We have definitely gotten better with just talking, which is funny in and of itself. Just
Mm-hmm.
talking, because that's all we're doing. We're talking, but we have to be like interesting and all that crap. So
We
I guess,
try.
yeah, we try. You know what I mean? But today we have a good show for you. And before we get into like the main topics, we kind of just want to talk about, what's been going on, what's been happening in our neck of the woods and whatnot. Just kind of a catch up sort of a thing. And in this segment, it's kind of not just stuff that we've done throughout the week or things that we've been reading or watching. It's also an opportunity to kind of just have a bit of therapy, I guess, because we get to
Yeah.
talk about us in outside of entertainment. That being said, I'm going to start with entertainment because why not? Um, so, being a horror fan, I've watched several films recently, and one of them was Halloween, the new
Mhm.
Halloween Kills, and I'm not even going to give a review for this one. I don't think it's needed. I think it was extremely mediocre, and I was a little let down, or a lot of let down actually, because I liked the first reboot or whatever, and I was expecting just better. That's all, just better. There's a lot of exposition that wasn't needed. There's a lot of really awkward scenes and some things that didn't make sense. And one of the, I guess, prime, I guess, blockers of criticism is how the film is supposed to depict people who are afraid, and because they're afraid, they do, things that just aren't logical, which I get. And unfortunately, it does a poor job of showcasing that because it goes from, I guess, like not logical or illogical to like absurd. I think Train to Busan does a better job of showing how people can kind of be selfish, or people can kind of, you know, just lose it and because of panic or whatever, and do, make really bad choices. In this,
Mhm.
it just seemed like your goal is one thing, and you ended up with something else, and because of that, there's criticism. And there's this weird thing that people do where whenever you criticize something, they kind of go, "Well, this is the reason. Well, this they had a plan. This is there's a message in here. If you just look at the message." And I'm like, none of that saves any of this. You can have the best message ever, and depict something horribly, and your message gets left by the wayside.
Yeah.
So the message in and of itself doesn't save you. Stop it. Stop it, people. But yeah, it wasn't that great. It's an okay popcorn film, I guess. I didn't go to the movies because I didn't want to be around people, and so I
Mm-mm.
watched it on the Peacock streaming service, and was actually has some decent stuff on there. And I watched it there, and and that's all I got for you is that sound I just made. But
Yeah.
beyond that, I was bummed that there wasn't a new episode of One Piece. And you might think that, well, it's just anime, like just whatever. You just go watch something else, and I did. But a lot of comfort as of late has come from, I guess, like television,
Uh,
comfort shows. Like people have that comfort movies, comfort shows, whatever the case. And so there's like a thing that I do, every so often, whether it's I'm watching Scrubs for the thousandth, 1000th time, or watching A Different World or something like that, where it's comforting. It's like a familiar thing, a familiar face, a familiar vibe, and you feel good because we're still dealing with COVID, we're still dealing with a bunch of stuff, and so when those things are gone, like for instance, A Different World is no longer on Prime anymore, which sucks.
ew.
It's like, dang, my nightly routine has been shifted, and on the weekends is usually whatever animes I'm watching, whether it's Baruto, which has gotten good, or in this case One Piece, when they're done or they stop abruptly because it's not finished, it kind of sucks because I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? And for my Christian people out there, I do pray like in the morning and stuff like that. But it's just certain things that feel a little bit more tangible in just routine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whether I guess it's kind of akin to someone who doesn't have their coffee, but not because of caffeine. It's just like, this is a thing that I do each morning or whatever the case may be. And it makes me feel better about starting whatever. It's the same thing with going to bed. And so because it's helpful for my brain.
Yeah. It gives your brain something to do, which my brain is not very good at right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, have you had any like anything that's comforting in that regard? I know you've been playing the games in terms of making or helping with you know cognizant ability, but in terms of just comfort, has there been anything that you've watched in that regard?
Honestly, I was catching up on all of the scams. And when I say scams, I mean, I caught up on all the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp drama. And I was like, oh my God, how can they let this girl work on Aquaman? How? Like, how?
Wait, I haven't caught up. I haven't missed. There's so much. There's only but so much news you can get. Like I know a lot of people were upset recently about Mel Gibson being a part of the John Wick TV show. Like people like just had it, and honestly, it's for a good reason. He said anti-Semitic things and
Mhm,
racial things or
mhm,
racist things, I should say.
mhm.
And not to say that you can't be forgiven and never work ever again.
Right.
I'm not of that belief, but at the same time, I totally understand why people are upset. The Johnny Depp stuff, I kind of just saw from afar and didn't really get into it, so I don't know exactly what went down there. From on one side, I heard that he was kind of wrongfully accused or whatever. Then the other side is like he's a
That
habitual abuser or whatever. So
is
I
not
don't
a
know.
no, he's not a habitual abuser. And I mean, look, this might be controversial. I always thought that he was innocent. Like I really, and I don't want to use the word innocent in the yeah, sorry, language is not good for me. But um I just never believed that like he was made to look like a wife beater. That's what it was. Like they try to make him look like a wife beater. Like this guy beats his wives. Like this guy abuses women in a general like multiple like that's what they try to make it seem like. And Amber Heard was like, I'm this victim walking around with bruises on her face and whatnot. But she was the abuser. It was her.
See, I heard stuff like, and like I said, I didn't look into it,
Yeah.
uh,
I
but
always thought it
I've
was that way. I did. I just always thought it was that way. And then I apparently had time to watch a bunch of YouTube videos to finally support my claim that I've been feeling since, this whole mess happened like 5 years ago. I just
Wait, it
always,
wasn't like conspiracy theorists on because that's a lot on YouTube. There's a lot of
no,
people like that.
those conspiracy theory videos are horrid. But no, these are like the ones where they're like they just play the tape. They just play the tape. And it's like, this woman is abusive as crap. She literally admits to fighting him. She admits to hitting him. She admits to it and she admits to starting fights with him so he will fight her. Like he keeps trying to leave. Every time she gets physical, he tries to leave so he doesn't get into it with her. And she berates him for leaving. She's like, "Why don't you fight for me?" It's like, "Fight for you, woman. You want him to punch you in the face. It's what you want so that you can take all his money." I mean, like, what more are we saying here? If those are the things that I was listening to, I was like, "Oh my God." And she tried to kill him. She cut his finger off. Like, oh my God,
She
he
cut
got
his
MRSA.
finger off.
He got MRSA twice. She threw a bottle of vodka at him and it smashed his finger and cut it open. I'm telling you, homegirl is on some stuff. And I was like, how did this happen a month after you got married? Just a month.
Oh goodness.
And then they said she cheated on him with Elon Musk and James Franco. Oh,
Wow.
there's so much. I was like, my head, I can't take it anyway. So yeah, that was bringing me some, I don't want to say comfort, but it gave me some occupation. And
Right.
and I'm sorry, the only reason why I even went down this path was because Jason Momoa got hurt on the set of Aquaman 2. Apparently, she tried to take his eye out. So
Oh
I was
God.
like, look, I already don't like her, so let me just go. Sorry, I'm saying this out loud. I don't.
Yeah,
I,
he's
I
looking.
don't.
Apparently, he's looking to do a 50 million defamation claim against his wife, like a
Yeah.
lawsuit.
Yeah,
That's
because and it's in Virginia because the Washington Post prints here.
right.
Yeah, because the British tabloid printed an article saying that he was a wife beater, and it's like, no, you should
Oh no,
because
not
he.
that one. That one he
Oh,
actually lost that case. It's he actually has one against his wife, like in particular his wife, not the actual newspaper thing. That actually, I think he lost last year. I think
no,
or
no,
something
no.
like that.
I'm talking about the new one. I'm saying that because she wrote an op-ed, Amber Heard wrote an op-ed
Oh, okay.
post. That's why he's suing her in Virginia because she wrote an op-ed basically saying, oh, this, that, and the other, and kind of confirming that, yeah, he's wife beater because of what the Sun printed.
Ah, I see.
And so that's why that's why the judge is even hearing his case because they're like, it is defamation. And so he gets to file it here because the Washington Post prints here. So that one is actually kind of looking good in his favor because with all the evidence of her actually being the instigator, like the Sun needs to not print. And since I was talking about scams for a quick minute, the scam, the scam in all of this is that the Sun, the British tabloid or whatever, is like owned by like Rupert Murdoch's son, who also sits on the board of Tesla. And if like Amber Heard was actually cheating with Elon Musk,
Wow.
then it all makes sense because they were working to destroy Johnny Depp's career so that Amber Heard's career would be better.
See,
I mean,
I think you're watching the wrong videos. I think.
no, but I'm saying it was good entertainment because I can't do anything. Like, I only go in public 2 times a week to go to physical therapy and stuff.
How's that been
So,
going?
I mean, apparently um I am getting better in the way like I I can I'm trying to sound like, how am I getting better? No, like apparently my eyes move much better now, and
Oh, that's good.
yeah, and my balance is better. It's still not good. Like I'm still having a problem like walking one foot in front of the other. It's like the hardest thing in the world. I know it's hard for normal people, but like it was never hard for me, and now it's like the worst thing. I feel like I can't remember ever walking in a straight line before, and so there's that kind of stuff. But yeah, my balance is pretty. It's still shaky, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And then, of course, I have speech therapy to work on, memory and speaking. Like the issues that I have with forgetting words and then just the one of the things that I have to do is well, it's called blocking, I guess. Like I don't have the ability to do things for long periods of time anymore. So like, we keep our show to an hour and it would be harder to do like super long shows because my headaches would just increase because I always start the show with a headache. And then it gets to the red zone and then I'm like, and typically we're done by then and then I'm like, okay, let me go pop some headache medicine.
Right,
so
right.
so yeah, I mean, to not like be a downer and everything, but of course I love to keep the fans abreast of what I'm going through. um I'm somewhat better, but some things aren't improving and some things seem to be getting worse. So just in that kind of weird area.
Well, I don't think
It-
it's necessarily a downer per se. I think most of the time, what I was just talking to my wife about this. There was
Mhm.
something about knowing that other people go through stuff being
Yeah,
helpful, but not from a way of, not from like misery loves company type of thing, but this idea that you aren't alone in whatever it is you're dealing with is a little comforting. Because there's a lot of people. I remember, talking about going to therapy and how,
yeah,
especially in the black community, that's not a thing that people do. And
right.
so, going to therapy, talking about it openly, and how so many people hit me up behind the scenes because of the stigmas and whatnot, and being like, it was very helpful. They started going to therapy. They would ask me questions about it. I had people hit me up like, "Hey, do you know anybody I should talk to?" Et cetera, et cetera. And it's been helpful. And while I don't always necessarily believe that I go through certain things to help other people.
Mhm.
If it's something where I go through that and it can help somebody, then it's a blessing in that. So,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of share like just a little bit of what's been happening,
Yeah.
here and there. Like for instance, I wasn't able to teach today. It was just
Okay.
overwhelming with like not getting enough sleep, whether it's because of work or because I don't typically sleep well or because of like a child is awake or
Mhm.
because they take my freaking shows off of Prime.
About to say,
Um,
what's that? They took your shows.
right? So it's like, but then also feeling like a lot of guilt or feeling like you just can't do things right. Whereas like I've taken on the task of teaching and our kids and not being able to do so, it makes
Mhm.
you. It's just a lot. It's a lot essentially.
Yeah.
So started back up of my therapist, which has been great because I wasn't going to. It was one of those things where I was like, you know what, I'm fine. Like this is just a bump. I had therapy before and I know how to kind of work these things out. And what I found was that my therapist was like, it's kind of like a doctor's visit. She was like,
Yeah.
people she is it's not unheard of for people to call her, years later after having therapy and being like, hey, I need to, we need to let's start this up again.
Mhm.
Look at it like anything else. Like you would go to the doctor for a checkup. Well, so this is, kind of a mental checkup type of thing. And come to
Mhm.
find out there has been some problems. So let's look
Yeah.
into that. And so it's been beneficial. And so sharing those things, it's like, well, if anybody out there is going through stuff and needs someone to talk to, not necessarily me, uh, there's definitely, avenues. And that might be something that we look into for maybe a future guest to kind of talk about
Mhm.
how someone can go about these things because not everybody can afford therapy, and so there might be ways around that. I know the people that I work with, if we didn't have insurance, they actually have like payment plans and other avenues to kind of help people out, and so it's they usually are there to kind of see what they can do, because they don't want you to go somewhere else or they don't want you to hurt yourself or whatever, so they try to work with you. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just think like, I don't have insurance, so this is way above my means, or because you think about, I think people, and not that Frasier is bad. I think Frasier actually does a really good job in terms of showing what can happen. But a lot of times people look at like shows like Frasier and they're like, oh, well, they have to pay this crazy fee to go see these people, and it's not always that case. But
Yeah.
yeah, just a state of things, just how things are going with us. Um, it's just some rough weeks, which is why our show might not go up one week. We might take a week off.
Yeah. Because last week was rough.
Yeah, and it's we have to be better about giving ourselves grace, about being okay with taking a break, about being
Yeah.
okay with needing help, being okay with you know venturing out and getting advice, being okay
That's
with
what
being
my therapist says to me, man.
see that's it's helpful because it's a lot of times, especially now because of COVID, we can't go visit people like we want. I mean, people do, but they shouldn't. We can't go do certain things, and because of that, people kind of, I guess, go inward, and that can that can be a rough spot to be in if everything is held in, and you can't express any type of anything. Or it might come spilling out on social media, which could also be really really bad. And so that's kind of why we want to just to have a little chat, just a little chat before we get into like the entertainment stuff. Uh, to have a little chat about how things are going. Hopefully everything is going well with everybody out there. And if it
Mhm.
isn't, if things are difficult outside of COVID and everything else, there's help. There's definitely help out there. You know, one of the things that I found interesting too is that there's no like guide work. I think like the last pandemic we had, like the world had, where it was like this, was so long ago that no one really knows what we did. And what I mean by that is like having children, right? Like they're dealing with COVID as well, but how they process it, how they deal with it is a little
Mhm.
different from us. And we can't even tell them how to deal because we're dealing with it. Like this is a first for us. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of mental exhaustion all around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, basically this is a beacon to let you know that you're not alone. Just,
Yeah.
little flag there. Just plant that.
You're not alone. We go through stuff too, guys. And so when you're going through stuff, you can listen to us talk about
Right.
fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Speaking of fun stuff, let's get into one of our first topics. And this is only fun to me because it's hilarious at how bad this is. Activision. So remember we were talking about Activision Blizzard and how they were being sued left and right
Yeah.
because of, you know, their how they were treating their employees and how it was like a frat house and all these other things. Well, so a couple of things have happened since then. Recently, so I want to say back in September, Activision settled with the Federal Employment Agency for 18 million, which basically everyone felt it was like a slap on the wrist. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission lawsuit essentially was like, they were bringing Activision to court because of what was happening, what was going down, all the stuff that came about, and they were able to settle. And within that settlement, it was like Activision agreed to, you know, place money here or there. They agreed to, you know, basically, I don't want to say root out the bad people because it's the way Activision has been doing things. They've been really sneaky, and we're gonna actually get to this part in a sec, where they have been doing everything from possibly destroying evidence
Ooh,
to uh you
not
know
that.
trying to, yeah, like they actually had like I remember before we were talking about it how they had a clause in your contracts where you couldn't bring up certain things, and other companies have a certain NDAs too, where but it's a little bit different. It's based on your products. Like for instance, working for T-Mobile, when I left T-Mobile, you had to sign an NDA that kind of said that I wouldn't go to Verizon right after, and it was mainly
Mhm.
because I knew company secrets. Not like I was high up in the company or anything, but
Right.
it's kind of like you don't want to take that knowledge over to Verizon or a competitor. And so there's usually NDAs about that. Like you have a certain amount of time before you're allowed to speak on certain things. But apparently, Activision had a NDA when it came to stuff where like sexual harassment and things like that. Obviously, it wasn't worded like don't tell people you were touched inappropriately. It was worded in such a way that they could take legal action against you based on how you brought it up, which caused people to kind of, obviously not say anything until eventually it kind of exploded, earlier this year, where several of the employees, staged a walkout. You know, gamers have been boycotting their, like World of Warcraft and Overwatch. I haven't been playing any of their games as of late, just because of all the stuff that's been happening, and so the EEOC, like I'm just shorten it or whatever, they had brought about this lawsuit. This was one lawsuit. There's been others, and Activision had some stuff to do in order to fix everything, but they settled. They settled for 18 million, and there was a problem with that. One of the problems, or the main problem, is that another agency, I think that's the right word, agency, the California Department of Fair and Equal Housing
Okay.
had already had an ongoing legal battle with Activision. And within the settlement for the previous, you know, the previous people who were suing them, the settlement, it would allow Activision to kind of wipe the slate clean, and in doing so, it would harm the DFEH's case because they were claiming that Activision would, they were already accused of erasing, you know, evidence or like shredding evidence or whatever the case may be. But in the settlement, Activision kind of gets to, I don't want to say like get out of jail free, but they kind of like can short some of the information that's needed for this other case, for this other lawsuit. So they
Mhm.
tried to intervene. They tried to say, hey, you can't do that. Not only did you not talk to us about this before you guys settled, and it could potentially hurt our claim, you're going to remove the evidence. You're going to hurt our chances of actually doing some justice. So that turned into a fight. Unfortunately, this actually gave Activision a bit of a wiggle room, and I'm actually quoting Kotaku here, so I'm actually pulling up the article. Shout out to Renita Price, I believe that's how you pronounce her name.
Mhm.
So they talk about the case, and they say that Activision has requested additional time to investigate and potentially disqualify the California Department of Fair and Equal Housing from its ongoing legal battle with the agency. This is on account of potential ethics violations in the other ongoing legal battle with the California Department of Fair and Equal Housing. This is likely a very bad thing for the DFEH prospects on both cases. The reason why this is bad is because apparently, once upon a time, there was an alleged harassment of employees,
Mhm.
which is like, again, the company that's bringing Activision to court
Yeah.
apparently had harassment, issues within its own company. Like we can't seem to get away from this, which is
No.
what's funny because it's this weird entanglement of multiple entities that's causing all this issue, and Activision is just sitting back laughing as if Activision is this like weird monster.
Yeah.
With multiple heads or whatever, just laughing at the foolishness of what's going on. But
Yeah.
apparently, there was a lot of there was issues with sexual harassment, psychological trauma, and all this other stuff. And basically, Activision is like, hey, maybe these people aren't the right people to actually take us to court. So we need
Maybe.
more. We need more time, and they're like, actually dragging this out could actually hurt. That could hurt. It actually, Activision is presenting it as if this could potentially harm any other case that's brought up, or it kind of like these people aren't to be trusted essentially, and
Mhm.
so and this is all because they tried to intervene with the other people that Activision was settling with. So we have
It's just trash.
it's all around trash, and I feel like it's making like Activision is going. I don't think that necessarily going to win, but it could disqualify
Yeah.
the DFEH from having their own trial, which is what
Mhm.
Activision wants because they
Yeah.
could just settle with the EEOC. And I'm sorry for all these letters, people, but I'm not reading all that out. But it'll kind of like disqualify, and it's like, fam, you didn't. I feel like this is like old Twitter messages that didn't pop up until later. Like you forgot to scrub them clean when you before you went to run for senator or whatever the case may be. If it's like
Oh,
you guys didn't think this was a thing that you should bring up or you should tell or you should be open about before
yeah.
you started an investigation into this company about the
Yeah.
same type of stuff. Like
Mhm.
no one, anyone, anybody, no one said anything.
No
Like,
one.
and I'm like,
Because
what?
everyone's incompetent.
Right.
And I guarantee you, the one person who probably researched this and actually said, "Hey, I found some stuff that I think is bad," they probably got fired. The one person who said,
Oh my
"Hey, excuse
gosh.
me," and they're like, "Aren't you supposed to be getting my coffee?" And he's like, "Yeah, but while I was getting your coffee, because I multitask, I did a quick Google search and found out that the DFEH has problems because they told their employees they shouldn't. Hey, sir, you're only here for coffee, so hush." That's what happened. And he got fired, or she,
Yeah,
or they.
it's just so crazy. And then like and it was also crazy is that the motion has been brought about by the other company that was suing Activision.
Yeah.
So like the EEOC's ethical complaints, Activision also argues that the DFEH should be disqualified on account of his communications with Activision Blizzard's employees regarding their rights to external counsel. The
Yeah.
company alleges that the DFEH warned employees against finding their own lawyers in favor with cooperating with the DFEH's own investigation. Like it just, oh my god, it just looks it just looks bad, fam. It just looks so bad, and it's like it's a
Yeah.
win for them. It's a win for Activision because if they get disqualified, if their claim gets thrown out, then it's only the other guys. The other guys were ready to settle, and a lot of the employees were like, "This was a slap on the wrist." Like
Mhm.
15 million. Oh, I'm sorry, $18 million. And then also there's money that's going towards like other. They're setting up like programs and stuff like that, into to for the betterment of the company. So
Yeah.
there's stuff like that, but all together, the amount of money isn't it's not a lot at all for Activision Blizzard. They make a lot of money yearly, like a ridiculous amount of money. And it's not necessarily about the money, but the idea is to I guess the word would to seek justice in a way that would prevent these things from happening again. It's and one aspect of that is the board members who were like Activision hasn't done anything to actually fix this. We had this particular settlement, and then we had the other one from the other company. Those things were supposed to deter Activision Blizzard from having a frat like company.
Yeah.
And if they're just going to get a slap on the wrist, people are going to forget about it. Then they're going to go buy their games again. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. But and again, it's not to be grim. It's not to be like, oh, to be woe is me over what's happening. It's just the like you said, the incompetence and like the silliness of this thing. With all the evidence, with all the stuff that's been going down, there should be a reckoning. There should have been a reckoning with Activision. And they're just kind of like not even because of them. You know what I mean? Like it's not even because Activision like actually did anything for this to happen. It was that they settled and then another company jumped in so that the company that they settled with was like, hold up. Y'all got some stuff, you know what I'm saying, that you got in the closet over there that
Yeah.
we can kind of use to shut you up. And Activision's like, oh, really?
I'm like, "Oh, you do you?"
Yeah, it's my goodness. It's just so goofy. I really but on the flip side though, I do hope that something is done where it's a better company because there are good people that work there. There are good developers that work there,
Mhm.
and no one deserves to be treated the way they were treated. And you know, I'm hoping. I want to say since this happened, I'm hopeful. The reason why I'm hopeful is because since this happened, a lot of people have been fired. There's been 20 people have let go. Granted, the people who are saying that they've been fired, they didn't really speculate on who it was. They didn't share
Mhm.
that information, and they said that other people would be punished if they found out that they were involved in whatever the case may be. But it's hard to kind of take these people's word for it because of all the shady stuff they've been doing.
Mhm.
But it's hopeful that there's some changes happening. That I don't think Activision Blizzard is going to go down anytime soon, and that's not even necessarily what I'm hoping for. But I'm hoping that there's going to be some good change, and it'll be a long lasting change. And you got to take it one step at a time. I just hope that whatever comes of it, whatever case, whatever is brought up next, that is not the people that are bringing it up don't trip over themselves with their own mess.
Yeah.
And because I'm very quick to be like, what happened over there has nothing to do with what's happening here. What happened with that particular company has nothing to do with Activision. But that being said, with being lawful, like you kind of, the people that's bringing this up, they're going to use your dirt. They're going to
Mm.
use your dirt against you to kind of get out of whatever the hell they're in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's just
That's
how that
true.
works.
That's just
You know.
tactics.
So I kind of wanted to share that in Activision world. Because it does seem like it's its own world. And I know Ubisoft is over there like, please keep the attention on them.
Mhm.
Please don't look at us. But we see Ubisoft.
Yeah, we see you.
Another thing we wanted to talk about, and this one is a little bit more somber, is talk about Christopher. I think his last name is uh, Ayres, Ayres, um, recently passed. He was the best known for the voice of Frieza on Dragon Ball Z Kai. For those who don't know, Dragon Ball Z Kai was like a revised vision of
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball Z, like a reboot of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Essentially the same show, with cleaned up, cleaned up tracks, cleaned up vocals, cleaned up, animation and stuff like that. So it didn't change a whole lot. It was just a better produced show, which ran right into Dragon Ball Super.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris was actually the voice of Frieza for that, for Kai, as well as the newer Dragon Ball Z uh, films like Resurrection F and Brawly. Was also, in Dragon Ball Super. He
Mm-hmm.
was also in other shows as well, like
Mm-hmm.
Macross, Initial D.
He was in Gantz.
Yep, and Gantz. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of work, a lot of work. And it was interesting. I found out that he was born in VA. Shout out to VA.
Shmanin.
Whenever I found anybody who like is from Virginia and does like animation or in this sort of field, I'm like super excited. Being an
Yeah.
illustrator and hopeful to animate one day. Shout out to the creator of Doug. He was from VA as well. But anywho, so yeah, he's actually done a ton of voice work for different shows, different anime, and yeah, he passed away. I think he was 56.
Yeah.
56. I'm not sure like
I think
why
his
like
wife said he had COPD.
oh, okay.
Yeah, because apparently she posted something that was really sweet. She said, like, wherever you are, I know you're dancing and breathing in. Like she said something like taking a deep breath and dancing.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, I guess what said is that he had COPD, so that could have been it. But there was no
Got you.
official statement, I think, that said that he died of COPD.
Got you. And he had to get a double lung replace or
Yeah,
transplant.
lung transplant. Yeah.
That was back in 2017. So that's yeah, that just sounds like a hell of a procedure to kind of go through. Um, and so that's yeah, I would imagine, and it's especially with and granted she doesn't say anything about COVID, but I can imagine in a world with COVID, any type of respiratory issues would just be rough, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in terms of trying to stay away from people having to wear masks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, how troubling that can be, but you know, prayers out to the family, and whatnot, and it's unfortunate news. But remembering, in the effort to remember him more fondly, he does a great job in all the voice acting that he's done. Because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize some of the characters that I heard before were him. Because
Mm-hmm.
not to be weird, but a lot of times you don't know the voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll hear someone and you're like, unless I mean I know Cree Summer, I know like certain people, but
Yeah.
when it
You
comes
can't
to
not know
anime,
Cree Summer that she's
right? Like if you're
yeah,
black, you just have to like that's
yeah,
that's that's a rule. Like
yeah,
you kindergarten, you know who Cree Summer is. That's how it
yeah.
works.
That's yeah.
But I did, there was some other characters that if they sound the same, then I'm like, oh, that's that guy from that other show or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case. But in this case, I didn't really know until I looked. And I was like, oh, he spoke for this person, this person, this person. Okay, cool. That was cool. And he did a really great job. He was able to, and this is something that kind of comes with the territory, but being able to change your voice in a way that you're
Mm-hmm.
you're you're not recognizable to anyone
Yeah.
is really really good. Like because Cree has a unique voice. She doesn't really have to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
She can sound however she wants to sound. It'll be great.
Mm-hmm. And
You
it'll
know what I'm
be
saying? Like
great.
it'll be great. Like she's playing a little black boy, she's playing a little black girl, she's playing a mom,
Uh-huh.
she's playing a teacher. She's gonna sound great. It doesn't really matter because her voice is unique and raspy, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying. Whereas and not to say that Chris's voice wasn't great, but he didn't sound like Frieza didn't sound like anyone else.
Yeah, like knowing that he did Frieza and that he did K from
Right.
Gantz is so interesting to me. And mind you, I did not watch Gantz in English. I
Mm.
was one of those people who got Gantz simulcast.
Right, right.
And so yeah, no, like I didn't know he was anyway. But yeah, so I never listened to him as Gantz, but knowing what Frieza's voice is supposed to sound like, because I didn't watch Kai. I think I watched one episode of Kai and I was like, oh, sure. And then I went about my business. There's a reason for that. And that's because I didn't have the emotional wherewithal to put myself through Kai because I've already put myself through Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
So
It's same here.
there was just no way I was gonna do it. I know. So I didn't hear his voice as Frieza, but I know what Frieza is supposed to sound like. So just knowing that he played this little silver and purple space monster, and then he also played Troubled K is very interesting because they're not the same.
They're not. And I heard so I heard him on Dragon Ball Super. I saw like a few episodes of Kai, and then I started watching when Super picks up because it picks up right after the Boo saga,
Mhm.
because they don't do GT, like GT never happened, which
It's not real.
I'm not mad at that at all. I'm totally not. Uh,
Who's with the
he picks
scar?
up there as and he sounded good. Like it wasn't even like Frieza was, because I remember the original voice of Frieza, uh, and I felt like this was his depiction was truer to Frieza, if that makes sense. Like
Okay,
it's
yeah.
almost like you know how like you have a character who sounds like Optimus Prime, but then the real voice Peter Cullen comes, and it's like, no, that's Optimus Prime, right? But in this sense, this was the opposite. Like I've heard Frieza, the American Frieza, but then I also heard the Japanese version, and
Mhm.
then I heard Chris's version, and I was like, yo, he sounds like how Frieza should sound.
Yeah.
He sounds like Mark Hamill on the Joker for Batman. It's just
Mhm.
like these voices just fit. He did an
Yeah.
amazing job. He did an amazing job,
Yeah. Which
and
is one reason why I love animation is because when you get the right voice actor, everything makes sense.
it
It really
does.
makes sense.
And it's which is crazy because you have to convey. I mean, granted, it is possible to do it if the animation is really good, but it's in terms of like conveying emotion through the facial expressions and stuff like that. But like being able to do so with your voice and like because these are just drawn characters. These it's not like someone acting in front of a screen, but at the same time, you're still acting. It's called voice acting. So to be able to convey emotions and stuff like that. Granted, most of Frieza's emotions are just petty
Screaming.
and greed and seeking power and just being a jerk. He does it really well, though. You know what I'm saying? He does it really well.
Kill him, Captain Ginyu. Like really, the
Right.
Ginyu Force, the
Oh my
Milk
gosh.
Force of all things, the Milk Force.
Well, everything is food with Dragon Ball Z for some reason. Uh,
Everything.
from Vegeta to what is it? Isn't Goku rice or something like that?
Well, no, Goku is heaven. It's Gohan who is rice. Gohan means rice or meal.
Oh, okay.
Goku is like heaven, kind of. Well, I mean, it's a place. It's because heaven is Tengoku.
Well, I guess that makes sense since he dies all the freaking time.
He does that
But
all the time.
it is a lot of food. Their characters, their names come like are derived from foods.
Everyone, Nappa and
Right.
Brawly was broccoli.
Yep.
Vegeta, obviously. Raditz was radish. So the whole Ginyu
Yes.
Force was named after milk because Jace was cheese, Burter was butter. I don't remember the rest of them. And if there were others, and then what's it called? It's like Puar is a T, Oolong is a T, and then Yamcha is actually Yamucha. The like I think Yamcha is like a dim sum or something
Oh,
like a
word. Okay.
I think so. And, and except Bulma. Bulma is not food. Bulma, her name is actually Bloomers, like the underwear.
Yeah.
So
Yes, that's right.
yeah, her name is Buruma, but they changed it to Bulma for the English. And but yeah, her name is Bloomers. But that's why Trunks' name is Trunks.
Right.
And
Yep.
then
It fits.
Bra's name is Bra. Her name is
Yeah.
Bra. Like,
I don't know why we just accept it. Like, yep,
we
that's
have
trunks
to.
and bras and whatnot.
You have to
It's
let Akira Toriyama be the genius that he is. And
it's something. I don't know if genius is the right word, but it's definitely it's definitely
it worked.
something.
It worked for us because we all watched it
We
and
didn't
we
know any better. Oh, cause the fights were fire.
fights were fire.
That's what we came back for. That's what we came back for. And the great voice acting. Shout out to to Chris and his family.
Yeah.
Prayers up for you guys.
Yeah.
And everybody who's dealing with loss as of late. You know,
Yes.
prayers up to you guys. Um, yeah, that is our show. That is our show for today. Short show, not a whole lot going down. We just kind of want to talk about a few things real quick while we're trying to be better, I guess, to ourselves. Try to get some rest. Try to be okay. I actually turned down a review today.
Oh wow.
I
Well,
was,
yeah.
I had someone PR hit me up about reviewing something else, and it just so happens the last reviews that I did, one is actually going to be going up soon. I did a review for the Nickelodeon All Star Brawl game. That's kind of like Smash Brothers, but with Nickelodeon characters.
Yeah.
And check that out on Game Skinny. And it just so happened that I was asked to do it, and I was like, yeah, why not? Because I had nothing on my plate at the time outside of my normal like news posting and stuff like that. I didn't have any features lined up, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But like the PR person didn't like get back to us with the code, so I was like, you know what? It's cool. I got hit up by another person to review some a pair of headsets, like a gaming headset. It's like, all right, I don't have this game, so why don't I do that? Cool. And it just so happened like either the day of or the day after, they were like, oh, and here's the code now. And I'm like, crap. So now I have two reviews to do back to back, which is something that I try not to do, but it always happens. You like I had a person tell me no for a code and then tell me yes like midnight before the game launched, and I'm like, while I'm appreciative of the fact that you're giving me a free copy of whatever, your timing sucks because when you tell
Yeah.
me no, I'm moving on to the next thing. Because if I don't have clients, I don't get paid. So I have, I'm like, all right, I knocked this off the schedule. But the fact that they sent the code is kind of, I didn't want to have the editor, leave the editor hanging. So I was like, you know what, I'll do it. And at that moment, trying to do both of these reviews, I'm like, I am tired.
Yeah.
I've crazy enough, I've made the most money that I ever have writing this year. Like
Uh-huh.
is bananas how much work I've gotten and some of the bigger assignments that I've gotten. But at the same time, I'm tired, and
Yeah.
so I was like, I'm not doing it. I said it, and I said it publicly, so like kind of like to hold myself accountable. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not doing any more reviews this year. Not not doing it. I will do other articles, obviously, but I'm not doing like reviewing of something. If I
Yeah.
buy a game or I get a ticket to see something, I'm just gonna watch and enjoy, not reviewing it. And so then I was tested, of course, because before the review even dropped, before the headset review that I did, I sent it to my editor. It hasn't dropped yet on the site.
Mm-hmm.
The guy hit me up for a second review, not my editor. The guy who sent out the headset was like, "Hey, we got a new one coming out. Blah blah blah. I just sent you this one, but do you think you could do this one too?" And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to pass. Uh, I was like, keep me in mind, in the future, but I'm taking a break. And I CC'd my editor. I was like, if he has somebody that he wants to assign this to, that by all means he can, you guys can talk amongst yourselves. But I'm gonna, exit stage left because I'm tired. And
Yeah.
which is really cool because typically, if it's something that I'm interested in, I'm more, or if it's something I'm interested in, but then also there's this idea that like if I say no, they won't come back around,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that's not true. Like I've been asked for to do so many things that it's like it's that's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's on them. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I've written a lot,
You're
so
setting boundaries.
yes, yes. That is the moral of of the story. I felt good about it because you're able to set boundaries and then stick to them. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times we're the ones that's kind of slip off into the no zone, and get caught up in some stuff when we could have just said no, and everything would have been okay. I'm here to tell you, it is okay.
Yeah,
You can say
it's
no.
okay.
You can say no. But yeah, so we kind of wanted to have a short episode just because of that. We wanted to, take time to rest. But at the same time, we didn't want to skip another episode either. So,
Yeah,
halvesies, halves and halves.
halvesies, we're here. At least this week, I can open my right eye because last
See,
week was not. I'm just saying, it's just the headaches, man. Yeah, I've said this multiple times. Please, y'all, do not get head injuries. Just
if you
don't.
can.
If you can, I just suggest that you don't do it. It's not good. You can't work. At least I can't. And so don't do it, guys. Please don't. That's our show.
That is definitely our show. If you're listening to us, on Audio Boom, you know that there's a bunch of links there for different DSPs. You can find us at the Gamecast, and there's dots between the G.A.M.E. You can also find us on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes, basically all those places. We are also on verbal.com, is VURBL.com. And same thing, just type in the Gamecast, will pop up. A newer place. This place is being promoted as like the YouTube for audio content. And they have some pretty cool. They have a cool setup there. We're over there. Cool thing. We actually one of our snippets that we did where we talked about Insecure. We had a prediction about Lawrence and Issa if they were getting together. That was on the previous podcast. It's just 2 minutes and I think 10 seconds or something along that line.
Mhm.
And I took the snippet out and so I could share it everywhere. But Verbal also holds on to the snippets. There's like a section for snippets. Well, apparently that snippet was pulled for their best pop culture audio snippets, and we were in that lineup with all a bunch of other podcasts, which is really cool, really really dope. Someone
Yeah.
thought that it was an awesome snippet, and they wanted to share it with everybody else. So awesome. We're on our way.
Mhm.
We're on our way. I will say though, and this is not to necessarily shoot myself in the foot by critiquing Verbal a little bit. I have noticed that the last 3 episodes, for whatever reason, on Verbal, don't sound as good in as they do as other places, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure that out. If you go to Verbal and it sounds a little off, you can actually go to either our YouTube page at United Front Gaming or the Gamecast on Spotify, all those other places. It sounds normal. For whatever reason, it's only the last 3. Every other episode before that sound perfect everywhere. So I'm trying to figure out why that's happening. It's still listenable. Like you can still, I think that's a word. You can still listen and hear what we're saying and all that, but it's not as clear as other places. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you go check us out there and you're like, oh, this is horrible, you can go to other places too. We're linked all over the place. All right. So I just wanted to shout that out. Again, I like Verbal. I like what they're doing and the setup and everything and how easy it is to take snippets. But I also wanted to clue the fans in on if something sounds off, it's not all the way around the board. It's just there. So we're trying to figure stuff out essentially. Anywho, I believe that is it for housekeeping.
That's it. Thanks for joining us for another episode, y'all. We love you. Don't be a dick. Wash your hands, wash your faces, wash your butts, and have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.